Hi, David Ellenstein here, Artistic Director of North Coast Repertory Theater. Thank you for tuning in today to our theater conversations. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. That would help us out a lot. Thank you. Hello. It's my pleasure today to be joined by my friends, Dan O'Connor and Edi Patterson. Hi, Dan. Hi, Edi.
Hi, David.
Thanks for doing this.
Our pleasure.
Dan is the producing artistic director of the Impro Theatre company in Los Angeles, which we'll talk about in just a moment, as well as being a wonderful actor, writer, director, and all-around good guy. And Edi is a longtime company member of Impro and has quite the film and TV career going, and is quite the talented improver and also a great person. And they just happen to be married. So, and I've just happened to know them for a long time. So here we are. So for those people that haven't come to see Impro at North Coast Rep, because you guys have been coming down and doing shows, gosh, for probably 10 or 12 years now, right?
Yeah, I think 12 years.
12 years. For those that have never seen an Impro show, can you just briefly describe what you guys do?
Well, we improvise a full-length play in the style of the world's greatest playwrights and composers and writers. But we take a couple of suggestions from the audience at the top. It looks and sounds like one of the shows that we've done down at North Coast Rep is Jane Austen Unscripted, which means we are in Regency era wardrobe. We have learned the Regency era. We have read everything we can about Jane Austen. We get a suggestion from the audience, and then we write in real time a 2-hour play that Jane Austen did not write. We create something, and every night is a completely different play. So it's improvised, it's unscripted, but it's as close to Tennessee Williams or Shakespeare or Jane Austen as we can make it.
And it's not parody in any way. It's just in the world of, and none of the stories have anything to do with the actual plays that were written by these people, or it's just in the world of. We don't reuse their characters, or we don't reuse plots. Our shows have no set structure, honestly. We just go.
It's so fun too, and it's so amazing that you guys, they're between 90 minutes and 120 minutes, right? It's a full evening of theater that you guys just create. So most people that know improv are probably familiar with, Saturday Night Live, which isn't really improv. It's almost sketch comedy, or the Groundlings,
sure,
or Second City. So how is it so different? I mean, I know you're saying it's long form, but you take a couple of suggestions from the audience. How do you, as a team, have the ability to create something that lasts a full story and actually go with each other? How does that work?
Dan can talk about it in more sort of practical terms if he wants to. I think a lot of it becomes you almost have to depend on senses that are not the senses that we're used to, like, depending on in the paradigm. I think you almost have to get psychic with it, and ensemble is key, of just doing and doing and doing and doing and doing with the same people. So you can start to almost dial into a similar frequency. Because if you're all open enough in that moment, what is supposed to happen becomes clear, because then no one's trying to make their idea happen. If that makes any sense. I can get a little more esoteric with it than maybe Dan can.
Yeah, well, Edi talks about sort of channeling the show, that there becomes a group think, and everybody, because we've worked together for so long, we really have a good feeling for where the story is going. But we don't plan. We never plan where it's going to go, and it's always different. The way we approach the work is much like you would approach a scripted piece of theater, in that the director has to look at the body of work of Tennessee Williams and then figure out a way to teach the cast, or get the cast to build up skill sets around the tropes of Williams, around character archetypes, around what his themes and passions were, the poetry of Williams. So we'll read everything from short stories to poetry. We'll look at film, and then the director for Tennessee Williams is Brian Lohman, and he will design improv skill building exercises and rehearsal techniques that then we can start to not only steep in Williams, but then begin to build out from there, so that we may have a Big Daddy type character, but it's never going to be the same. It'll never be the same actor playing it. And on that particular night, we don't know what's going to happen, which makes our relationship with the audience fairly unique in that, you know, if you go and see Oklahoma and New York, you are an audience member because you are just watching what is happening. When somebody goes and sees us improvise Tennessee Williams, they've given us a suggestion. The audience is a visceral stakeholder in what's going on, and they're part of the creation.
We've oftentimes likened it to jazz or basketball, in that with each of those you would run drills to practice, and you would do things to, you know, get your muscles the right way and know which way to run. And then when the show happens or the game happens, everything's improvised and everything is dependent on that exact moment. We watched a Miles Davis documentary the other night, and we were screaming over and over, pausing it and going, "That's just like improv. What he said is improv."
So was this always a dream of you guys to have a company that did this kind of thing, or how did it come to be?
It came to be when I moved down from San Francisco. I was an actor in San Francisco, and there was a sort of giant exodus at one point of San Francisco actors, and we all found ourselves down here and wanting to do stuff. But, you know, producing theater is, you can produce theater cheaply. It's a little bit difficult, but to have sort of ongoing practice and to have a gym where we could work out, aside from, you know, being part of a writer's group or taking an acting class, we found that improvisation was a great way to work on both those things at the same time, because narrative improvisation is great. We have a lot of writers who come out of the company, and it's also good for you know, working on your acting chops. So it was something we were doing, and then it just kind of moth to the flame. So many people dug it and wanted to see us perform that we just kept finding new ways to challenge ourselves. We also felt an onus for our parents who put us through drama school that they should get some value out of it. And so we started expanding, and really at a certain point, we stopped being an improv troupe and decided we're a theater company. We're a theater company, we just don't work with scripts. And that's made all the difference in terms of the depth of the work. And obviously, you know, people have taken these things. I mean, Edi has a terrific career, and so much of it is because she's a terrific improviser.
So going from there, so both of you are, aside from being, you know, fully committed company members to Impro, you both have careers beyond that. Dan, you've been a series regular on the news and on, what was the other one called?
World Cup Comedy, yeah, comedy
right,
show, yeah.
Right, lots of stuff. And you've directed a lot of stuff. And Edi, your career has been going great lately, at least from watching from afar, being in hit movies like Knives Out, or being on the hit TV series, what's it, the
Righteous Gemstones. Righteous
Gemstones, right.
I shouldn't have left you hanging.
Yeah, you should have left me hanging there. You know, the diamond thing.
You know, yeah, sometimes you get an interesting lead-in word. People know it's gemstones, but
right.
You get all sorts, and it's righteous gemstones, but people will go like, the fabulous, you know, your show,
the repugnant gemstones.
So I was just waiting to see what came out.
Yeah, you should have let me go about 6 times before you corrected me. But and are you also a co-writer on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So was it partly your idea, or how did that come to be? Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, no, the Righteous Gemstones was not my idea. I had done another series with the creator, Danny McBride, called BATS Principles. And after we did the second season of BATS Principles, we discovered through performing on that we we really like creatively working together, and we liked writing together. So we wrote a movie after BATS Principles, and figured that we write well together. And so when Danny started the room of writers for Righteous Gemstones, he asked me to be a part of it. And I wrote on the first season and on the second season, which we've had to put filming the second season on a little bit of hold right now.
Well, people will be craving it more when it comes back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And Dan, how does it work for you to balance? I mean, because you're the producing artistic director, and that takes up a lot of time, scheduling and figuring out all that stuff. How do you pursue your the other side of your career?
It's interesting, David. I've done a few guest stars and some commercials over the last couple of years, but I've really been focused on creating work with Impro. I've been teaching a bunch. I wrote a book with a friend of mine who's a shrink. We wrote a book about using narrative improvisation that came out about 1.5 years ago. We're writing a second book now, but
what's the book called?
It's called Life UnScripted. Here, look, there it is. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Amazon, Life UnScripted.
Life UnScripted.
Dan O'Connor.
It's basically improv as a self-help tool and communication tool.
Wow, interesting. When we get off of this, I'm going to go order it.
Great, yeah. Fantastic. And let me know what you think. And now we're writing a second book. We started writing the book before the pandemic, but it is perfectly timed because it's about loneliness and finding your ensemble in life. And that, we find our family ensembles, we find our work ensembles, but there's an epidemic of loneliness in this country. And you would think with all the interconnectivity of the internet that people would be more together. And the pandemic has kind of heightened the fact that it is a real big challenge.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's why we're so important, those of us that do live things. Because the greatest TV series, we're watching more TV now than we watched more TV in the last month than I've watched in 20 years. I am serious, because I don't watch TV hardly at all. And we're sitting and watching TV every single night, because what else is there really to do? I guess we could read, I'm giving it away, but we watch TV. But as much as there's great stuff out there, and there is, it's not the same. It's not that live connection of being in the room, which takes away the loneliness.
And you make such a great point, David. Theater is about connection. It's about connecting to people. And there's something that's so visceral and comforting about that communion. And I think I've been telling students, because I've been teaching on Zoom all over the world. I taught a class in Japan last week. Wow. 2 weeks ago, I taught a class in Germany. Because right now I'm supposed to be in New Zealand teaching, but for the pandemic. So I've been doing all these, working with all these theater companies and improv groups all over the planet. And the thing that people are craving is engagement. And I've been telling them improv is a growth industry, because the skills of improvisation are the skills of engagement. And that's true whether you're an actor or a writer or a director, but it's also true if you're going on a third date. That sense of what it is to really listen to somebody and really be heard by somebody, which goes back to the feeling of people not being seen. And so we have a school, Impro Theater has a school up here in LA, and a lot of our students are contractors and aerospace engineers and software people. They're wanting to get together and tell stories and create. And that's the way, it's kind of replaced the bowling leagues and book clubs to a certain extent.
That's great. You said it's a good skill for a third date. It's also a good skill for a 27th year of marriage.
Yes. Yes, it is. Being curious and listening. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're talking about personal connection. So for fun, we have a personal connection. You want to talk about how we know each other and where this all, the improv is at North Coast Rep because it's great and my audience loves it and we sell a lot of tickets and people have a great time. But there's a reason why improv comes down to North Coast Rep originally, and it goes back farther than that. What is that?
Well,
Talk about that?
so you were in a production with my downstairs neighbor, Lynn Griffin, of the Heidi Chronicles at the Gaslamp Quarter Theater.
That's correct.
And you
Remember
guys
what year it was?
I don't want to say, David, what year was it?
I think it was either 91 or 92.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah.
I was so young and lithe then.
I wasn't born yet, but I was good in the show.
Yeah, you guys were doing such a great job. They extended it, and the actor, Steve
Gunderson.
Steve Gunderson had to go off and do Forever Plaid. So Lynn suggested me to play a role which honestly, I probably would never get cast in, just going out on a general call. And Peter Petrone, and you and I and Lynn had a great time with the extension, and we've been friends ever since. And then you took her apartment. You and your lovely wife Denise took the apartment underneath us, or underneath me, way back when. So we were housemates of a sort.
Right, and when we moved in, there was a roommate, but then that roommate moved out because somebody else moved in.
P.S. You know this, David. You used to have a magical cat named Esmeralda.
We did have Esmeralda. Oh, I haven't thought about Esmeralda in a long time. Yes.
Yeah, rest in peace. She's awesome. And I used to, there was a little bit of crossover before you guys moved, where I lived with Dan and you guys were my neighbors too.
Right.
And everyone in the neighborhood was obsessed with Esmeralda, and she used to hold court on the driveway at night, and people would change their night walks to walk by Esmeralda. And every now and then during the day, if she would come up the stairs, we had sort of stairs that went from your back door to our back door. Right. If she would come up the stairs, if I called her, I would have her into our place, and I'd have her get under the covers with me and take a nap.
I did not. No, I'm learning things. So you were having an affair with our cat, and I didn't even know it. Edi.
And then, I'd leave the door cracked. She could go whenever she wanted to. It was very free.
I had no idea. Well, I Esmeralda's long gone, but our current cat Juno, you would have an affair with as well.
Oh.
She might even be sweeter than Esmeralda was.
What?
If that's possible. If that's possible.
Impossible.
Well, so both of you have busy lives doing all kinds of things. Edi, you have this film and TV career as well as doing the improv shows. And Dan, you're teaching all over the world and writing and doing all kinds of other stuff. What is the difference in the satisfaction and the reward you get from like doing the Righteous Gemstones, and I got it right, or an improv show? And for Dan, for you, like for teaching or writing, as opposed to, you guys are still doing the improv shows after all these years. So what is the satisfaction that's different on both?
For me, I would say the sort of base satisfaction for all the things is kind of the same, whether it's doing an improvised play with Impro Theatre, or whether it's doing written sketches at the Groundlings, or shorter form improv at the Groundlings, or filming the Righteous Gemstones, or filming anything else, is that if you let it, an improv mindset can sort of inform all of those things, in that once you figure out who you are, I'm very, very, very into character, and have been since I was really little, and I love staring at people, and I love studying people, and I love being around weirdos, and I like specificity. I like when people say things that make them human, and so I think the second you can tap into that with anything, even when it's written, a written thing can feel like it's improvised, from the person doing it and from the person watching it. If you just go, okay, that's me in this moment, and I guess what I just said is real. So, and then to just keep going from there. I don't know if that's articulate, but for me, the through line is character and a sort of openness to the moment, whether it's improvised or written.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, my favorite thing is improvising Chekhov in the style of Anton Chekhov. It's, you know, a lot of us have been working together for over 15 years, and there's a sense of joy and camaraderie when you're in a play that you can get up and leave at any time, and if you want to make an exit, that you can investigate how you're feeling about things. That Chekhov framing device is really terrific. I mean, his work is really terrific and informs and inspires us. But the teaching, like I teach I teach this stuff to corporations as well, which is interesting when you feel like you're making a change in the real world, that improvisation has a power for good, that people improvise every day, but most people don't take an improv class. And so the idea that, oh, we train in these skills that make us better able to communicate with fellow humans, it's wonderful when you can see the penny drop and you can see people realize, oh, actually, I don't listen very well to my partner and to the people I work with. And I need to work on that. So that is one sense of satisfaction. Teaching improvisation to actors is one aspect that is really thrilling for me. But really, at the end of the day, I so enjoy getting on stage with our ensemble that we've been working with for quite a while, and creating something new and different every night. It's a real, yeah, it's joyful. I don't know how else to describe it.
I know how much our audience looks forward to every time you guys are going to be down here. So hopefully we're going to be able to do that again soon and put people in a room. Yeah.
Do people know what we do at your theater, that we use your existing set?
Well, you want to explain it real quick?
Sure.
Yes. So for those of you watching at home, David and I have a conversation about the North Coast Rep season and what sets are going to be on the stage, and then we program our sets to our shows to your sets. In fact, one of my favorite was when you guys were doing Hedda Gabler. We did Chekhov, improvised Chekhov on the Ibsen set. Right. And it's perfect because it's around the same time.
Right, right.
And sometimes we don't know what it is and show up, yeah.
Or like when we've had hotel room sets and you've done Twilight Zone unscripted or something like that, and it works really well for that.
Yeah, and we have never seen the set in real life until we get there the day of the show, which is really fun to go, oh wow, there's a working kitchen over here. What are we gonna do with that?
Yeah.
It's also fun to see the way you guys work the show props in, because a lot of the fun show props end up being in your show too, in different ways. Well, this was really fun, and I'm really glad because I miss seeing you guys in person, and we're so long overdue for a catch up. So hopefully that's going to happen soon. You guys look great, and stay healthy and stay safe. And thank you for doing this today.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
From one weirdo to the others.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
You too.